Sounds good.
Well, welcome back to Drew and me. Um, had a brief intermission there, but we're back on, and me and my guest Paul Carson are talking about songs we really like, and we're talking about how Kanye West uses sample in one of his songs, and how bands like they'll use like really good samples. And a song I still hear on the radio today is the Verve with Sweet Symphony.
Oh, that's a
Um,
great one. Yeah.
I know there's a sample in there from somewhere.
Oh, the violins and yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds so good. Like the violins could carry the whole song. Like they do a great job like weaving in and out of it, but the violins do the heavy lifting for sure and it sounds so good.
yeah, like it's been used on like montages and like commercials and stuff, and it's such like a sweeping song. Yeah, the
Right.
violins like really kind of like come through like so strong. And
Mhm.
uh I think there was a lawsuit like way back in the
Oh,
day of
really?
the guy who did it, of they took it from something else. But as being like a child of the 90s, of me being like a 90s kid, I just kind of know it as like that song. So
Right. It's yeah, that like it almost feels like sometimes when you're introduced to the reinterpretation first, that anything that it's pulling from feels like the imitation of that. You're like, no, Bittersweet Symphony is my original. That other stuff is a copy from the past.
yeah, yeah. Um uh
I think Ed Sheeran just won like a lawsuit. I don't know
oh, I
what
heard
song it
about
was
that.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I guess he did like a similar chord progression or something. It's got to be so hard to prove though, because there's only so many chords, I feel like.
Yeah. Um yeah, I know according to Forbes, he has a lot of money. So I'm sure the legal counsel that he brought to it was good.
Hmm.
I'm sure he had really good representation, but like, I can't believe someone would find a problem. Like, his songs are so well written and so well produced.
Hmm.
Like I feel like you're really kind of splitting hairs, and you're kind of taking advantage that he has a lot of money. So
Uh-huh.
if you file a lawsuit, you might win a lot of money. But
Right.
I say, leave him alone.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you're right there. They probably saw like, okay, the upside for us financially is probably huge. It might be just a shot in the dark, but if somehow we win this, Ed Sheeran has the money to change our lives. So I can see somebody definitely being motivated by that.
Yeah, like I think somewhere they probably care about the song too. So
True. Yeah, I imagine that's a good point because I imagine that's got to be infuriating if you're like obviously the person who was suing wasn't as big or famous or have the notoriety of Ed Sheeran. So it's got to be infuriating where if you're like, wait, I recognize that chord progression. And then like this super famous guy is getting all the credit in the world for this amazing chord progression that he came up with. And I can see how that would get under somebody's skin. So you're right.
mm.
Yeah, there is that angle as well.
um yeah, I know the Chicago song 25624, it uses a progression from a Led Zeppelin song. I
Oh,
can't
it
remember
does.
what the Led Zeppelin song is, but it does use it.
Are you familiar with the band
which
Greta Van Fleet?
I have. They sound a lot like Led Zeppelin.
Huh. Like they have original songs, but it is kind of fascinating to see the niche that they've fallen into, which is the guy's voice is amazing, but like the band, the guitar, the everything, the outfits are very, very much Led Zeppelin adjacent, I guess it would be the word I'd use. But like it is kind of fascinating to see that
Or reminiscent.
yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah. I think it's kind of cool though, like because as Led Zeppelin, like as they get older, they're not putting out new songs. So for people who love that kind of
No.
music, it's almost like they're getting new Zeppelin songs in a weird way.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a different audience or demographic because I don't think all the dads in the world are listening to Greta Van Fleet. So,
You're probably right. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of Led Zeppelin purists who are like, this is not for me. And I imagine a large percentage of them are dads. Yeah, you're probably pretty spot on there. So that I'm sure they've forged some of their own audience or a large percentage of their own audience as well. But you're right. How about you? Do you have any like all time? I know there's so many options, so it's hard to pick. But do you have like any all time favorite artist or favorite song?
let's see. I'll see if I can pull it up. Um, let's see. Uh, um, kind of a new one. It came out like a year and a half ago. This song by Will Smith's daughter, Willow.
Yeah.
Take me to our spot.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one. I think she has such a cool, unique voice too. Like I can't think of anybody else like it. Like she has a great voice, and I like that song.
Yeah, that's a really good one, and it has like it's a very like she has a big voice, like
Hmm.
that's like she has like kind of a strong and powerful voice, but the song's like a duet with another artist. I can't remember the other artist's name, but he's really good too,
Hmm.
and um, I think she does actually play the guitar in the song,
Hmm.
which is also really cool that she plays the guitar. So
Hmm. I'm always
it's
amazed.
awesome.
Like I know they like musicians practice their whole lives, and the guitar almost probably at a certain point feels like an extension of them. But I'm always amazed by like just the multitasking of singing and playing a guitar at the same time. Like that still
Yeah.
is wildly impressive that somebody can think. I guess any piano player has to think with like two minds almost, but like to carry a melody with your voice in your head and then play a different thing with your fingers is it's like pat your head and do a circle with your stomach type of thing.
Yeah, you're using like two different skills. Yeah, and like I know to sing and to play the piano at the same time is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really hard. Like you have to really be in sync. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I guess it depends. Like it would be easier if you learn the guitar stuff while singing,
Oh,
and
so it's
if
all
it's
like
not
the
something
same
you
thing.
add, yeah, like opposed to like you add the skill later,
Mm-hmm.
because if it's like incorporated with it, it might be easier to come back to it.
That is a very good point because you're kind of learning it as one thing as opposed to like I imagine if you learn to sing and learn to play guitar separately, you're gonna be thinking like, oh, I'm combining two things now. I got to think of and focus about both. Whereas somebody who's used to like having 50% brain power on their guitar and 50% on their singing. It's just all like, of course this goes together, this is what it is, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and like for me, that might be the easiest way to do it. I think like singing and playing guitar, like it sounds easy, but just like a lot of skills, you have to practice it. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Did you ever do any musical instrument or singing or anything growing up?
Um, I played the drums in middle school, and that
Oh,
was
cool.
fun. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, I did choir in middle school, and then the choir practices were the same time as recess, and I didn't want to give up my recess, so I just like quit choir. Which is like my only regret of middle school is like now I'm thinking I gave up singing choir for like man.
Hey, recess is fun. I, I don't think anybody would blame you. Like recess is a very fun time. That's pretty cool though. Like, do you still ever do anything musical, or just appreciate it
Um,
from afar?
occasionally like I'll go to like an open mic. I live in a town. Um, have you ever done the show at PJ Ryan's in Phoenixville?
I never have, but I know I'm familiar sort of with the area a little bit. So you're kind of like way west of the city, maybe like 45 to an hour west.
Yeah. There's a mic called Steel City where you can just come and perform, and you can do stand up too. And I've actually performed stand up there, but it's more friendly towards musicians.
Uh-huh.
So I'll like bring my keyboard and I'll play like a song on keyboard, and then there's a song I'll sing or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of a great place and opportunity to kind of try out your stuff. And they're fine with covers, they love original stuff, and it's just kind of a really cool mic.
Hmm. That's impressive. You're quite the performance renaissance man with theater and music and stand up and improv. You're doing it all.
um a very very wise comedian once told me the creative outlets feed each other. So
Hmm.
you can like and they like spawn more, and like they encourage like more, and like if you do stand up you could probably write an original show or write a movie or write a spec script for like a TV show or something, or just you could do more creative projects. um
Absolutely. Do you ever find that like having multiple mediums to like be creative through, like if you hit a wall with one, it helps to pivot to another, and like it makes you feel like you're not losing creative momentum, but like if you're at a roadblock in one place, you can kind of switch gears. Like do you find that that helps with creativity for you?
yeah, like just like time to do something else.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you can always do something different, and you can always like you can come back to like something like even if it's been like a year or like 2 years, you can come back to a project or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll always have time to come back to it.
Right.
So that's kind of how I think about it
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And um I feel
Are,
like your example of like a song that you like, the Lauren Hill song, I feel like that's a really good example because she's someone who she's made some really good music, but a lot of it's only one album. So,
Right. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was an all-time classic, and then just kind of stopped. Like I don't even know if she owns the rights to her music like anymore. Like I've heard very disappointing things about going to see her live. Beyond like apparently she shows up like 3 hours late and doesn't even like all the songs are like unrecognizable. Like she switches them up, and I'm not sure if that's like because she's bored and just trying to have like a creative thing, or I've also heard rumors that she doesn't own the rights to her own music. So I'm not sure which it is, but apparently seeing her live is a disappointment.
I can believe that she doesn't own her music.
Uh-huh.
Like that kind of sounds right. But some artists to kind of keep it fresh, they'll change things up, or
Hmm.
if there's like a vocal range that she doesn't have anymore, or like,
Oh, that's a good point too. Like you see the old like old rock stars, like I think the lead singer, I think Axl Rose or somebody, like he still kept it like pretty solid, but like after like decades of like singing super high pitched, you gotta adjust a little bit. And I think he's done that. But yeah, that is definitely a concern of night after night, just that's gotta hit your vocal cords hard.
yeah. And usually like the greats like Elton John and people like that, like they adjust. And
Mm-hmm.
like I know with like Elton John, his voice got considerably lower, so he can do like a lot of lower pitch stuff, and then he has people on his staff that can still do the high notes. So
Okay. Huh.
um he does that, and I think the Beach Boys do it too, because I don't think Brian Wilson can hit like the really high notes anymore.
Right. Yeah, they have a lot of those too. Like some of those harmonies, the high man, like yeah, it's
Oh
tough
boy.
stuff.
Yeah. Um So, what would be another song for you that you really like?
Um, a lot of songs, honestly, I like them because they kind of like pinpoint a time in my life that I enjoyed. Um, so like a lot of them are like I love Nickelback just because I was enjoying life in 2007. Um, so I love the song Rockstar. I love Photograph. Like I unironically love Nickelback just because of that. Just yeah, it was a like a good formative year of my childhood. So like to
Yeah.
2005 to 2007. Like I moved back and forth between America and Germany because of my dad's job, and just like that was a time we were in Germany that I really enjoyed, and like Nickelback was popping in those days, so I associate them with that. And anytime those songs come on with that gravelly voice, I'm like, oh, keep singing, you Chad Kroger, you Canadian king.
Yeah. I never really got why people would make fun of Nickelback. Like,
I think it became
um,
like a meme almost, like it became cool to hate almost.
and that's great. Like, just as long as you like think of the music separately, and then you can think of Nickelback as the joke, and then you can think of them as the music. And part of it I think is the name, like
Right.
Nickelback, and then it like nothing against like bands like Creed or like things like that were around the time, but it was a type of like post kind of mm, like it was like kind of like a post hard rock, like heavy metal type thing that was really popular in the early 2000s.
My favorite
That
way I've heard it described is divorced dad rock. where like that I think Daughtry and like so many songs of like like that a divorced dad would be like, this rocks and it's angsty and it's for me.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's actually pretty sad too.
Yeah.
So, like, um, yeah, and it's weird because it's like, yeah, like, so if you just think of it on the music like prowess, it's good music, um, like the songs you were saying, like Rockstar and like Photograph and I can't think of another Nickelback song right now, but
Those are the big two.
um there's a few other good ones. Like I never made as a wise
Yeah.
man.
Couldn't get it as a
Poor
poor
man
man
stealing.
stealing. I don't know. I think my voice went too deep there to match. That just kind of sounded like an old bullfrog.
Who I really am, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
fully on board. But I can totally see how they became a meme, like with the goatees and the frosted tips and everything. Like I don't I do understand it. There is fun to be had there for sure.
yeah, I remember when I like came up doing stand up, like people would do Nickelback jokes, and they would usually get like a good response from the crowd. And
Mhm.
I was thinking, I get it, but then like, you know, there is a time when it becomes like too much.
Okay, yeah.
And but I enjoy their music, and um I understand that kind of what you say of the divorced dad rock, and like there's kind of things that come up with them. But yeah, I also think it's really cool that, kind of your love for them comes from like it was a really cool time in your life. So you
Mhm.
kind of have like a positive like association with it. Like um like there's like a Calvin Harris song I really like because I went on like a cool trip. So I really like that Calvin Harris song, or I really like that like Rihanna song, like
Mhm.
We Found Love in a Hopeless Place.
Oh,
Like
that's a good one. Yeah.
there was like a good road trip I took. So I kind of associate it, like I can still like picture myself in the car, like
Uh-huh.
on the road trip and stuff like that. So like it kind of has like a good association for me.
Mhm. Where were you? Where was the road trip to?
McDowell County, Virginia. We were gonna we let's see, we were gonna study the pollution there. So McDowell County
Uh,
used to be a really big coal country.
uh-huh.
Um, they used to do a lot of coal, but it's now like really impoverished and very poor.
Oh, because once that industry
So
kind of went down, there wasn't much
yeah,
else.
yeah. Let's see. I remember when we went, it was really hot outside, and then
Mhm. Heading south.
um, yeah, and kind of you're in like the real Appalachia like
Mhm.
type territory, and then let's see, we helped make a floor for this one family, and that was really nice. And
That's
then
cool.
other group worked on like a billboard or something like that, and that was kind of cool. So yeah, there were just kind of cool projects we could do there. Um, yeah, and that was like when I was in college. That was in like um 2012, I think.
Okay.
Um, so that was fun, and I remember really liking the music that year. And yeah, that was when Rihanna and Calvin Harris were really popular. And then we also listened to Young, Wild, and Free. The Wiz Khalifa song, like
Oh yeah, that's a good one as well.
Young and Wild and
Yeah.
Free. Yeah, so so we're just having fun. That's how it's supposed to be. Living young and wild and free.
Did that one
So
have Snoop Dogg on it?
yes,
Okay.
Snoop Dogg is on it, and his lyrics are explicit. And
I remember that was around the time I think they did like a movie together, like some stoner comedy type thing, and it was what was it? It was Mac and Devin go to high school, and I think that song might have been a big part of the soundtrack.
you're right. Yeah, you're right. I remember like the art for the song was like a blackboard or something like that.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think it
yeah.
was kind of like school themed.
And it was it is what you get with a stoner comedy. It wasn't the best movie, but it had some funny moments. I remember just like seeing it in my friend's basement, and he was like, "Oh, okay, this we'll just watch this," and it was like just Snoop Dogg. It's Snoop Dogg, kind of like the high school football players we were talking about earlier, was very clearly a man in his mid to late 40s. But he was in high school. I think the premise was like he was a super senior who just kept flunking because he smoked weed or something. So he had like his Letterman jacket with like 10 different years listed on it. And so it had its moments.
Wow. Which sounds good. Yeah.
And Wiz
Um,
Khalifa was like this straight edge kid who then Snoop Dogg introduced to weed and tattoos and women, and and that was the plot of the movie pretty much.
uh, oh man. Oof. Um, let's see. I actually got to see Wiz Khalifa live, like
Really?
in I think it was 2013, and that was really cool. I know, like I remember when he did like Black and Yellow, like that was just like
Uh,
this is really cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that one being big at my school. I was probably in like middle school at the time, but like my school's colors were black and yellow. So every middle schooler in the school was like, "That's about us. It's not about Pittsburgh at all." The
Black and
Morristown
Yellow, Black
Fighting
and Yellow.
Quakers. Yeah, exactly. We had the dumbest mascot for my high school. It was the Morristown was originally founded by Quakers, but they wanted to give it an edge, so we were the Fighting Quakers, which doesn't make any sense because by nature the most important tenet of their religion is pacifism, so they would never fight. So but like
Mm,
the football team was just the black and yellow Morristown Fighting Quakers, and it was not well thought out.
nice. Um, yeah. Um, you know, I think if you asked Wiz Khalifa, he'd probably be okay with like if you wanted to use that song for that, like he'd be like, it's Black and Yellow, right? So yeah.
Just a bunch of white 13-year-old soccer teams getting fired up to it. It's like, this
Oh
is who I made
man.
it for.
Oh man. Um, is that Morristown, New Jersey?
Yeah, not to be confused with Morristown in central Jersey. There's two, and they're very close.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Because I have family that lives in Morristown,
Okay,
which
gotcha.
is near Randolph.
Hmm.
Um, but yours is M-O-R-I-S-T-O-W.
Yes,
Moors?
yeah, and it's kind of like just 20 minutes away from Philly.
Nice.
Mhm.
Um, is it kind of near like Haddonfield and stuff like
Yeah, it's
that?
yeah, it's probably like 15 minutes down the road. All similar area though. I know you're west of the city. Do you ever get into New Jersey for comedy, or do you ever go into the city? Or I know there's a little bit of a scene just out near you though as well, right?
Let's say I know that my friend James has done stand up in Milltown and also probably Haddonfield and Hatboro.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I don't think I've ever done it in Jersey.
Hmm. I imagine it's
Um,
probably a bit of a ride from where you're at, maybe like an hour or two, so it might not be super worth it.
I think I did one, and it was in Pittstown, New
Okay,
Jersey, I think. And
done something there. Huh.
that was forget whose home that was a person of note's hometown. And I know that a really famous comedian was gonna do a show there too. And yeah, it was just kind of a I think it was an open mic night that the Comedy Cure guys came up with, and
Mhm.
uh, that was kind of fun. Yeah, so that was cool. Yeah, I think that's the one show that I've done in Jersey.
Mhm.
But yeah, um,
If I'm
no,
ever out
like
in like oh,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I usually kind of do stuff in kind of the Philadelphia area, and um, I
If I'm
did
ever out
do
near Steel Stacks,
the
I'll
PJ
definitely
Ryan
let you
show.
know. If I'm ever out in that area, I'll definitely let you know. Maybe we'll run into each other.
Yeah, that'd be cool, dude. That'd be really cool. Have you done The Flash in Kennett Square? Have you done that one?
No, I never have. How was it?
I haven't done it either. They do a comedy show, and they also do a mic. And I know Brian Six, the Philadelphia comedian. He says like The Flash. You gotta do The Flash. You know, it's a good time.
Hmm.
So,
Okay, maybe I'll give it a shot.
yeah. Yeah. For me, if you like email the guys and like you like share like a clip of your show, like you have a tape or something, like
Mhm.
you could probably get on.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So, and then I just kind of try to do like the comedy competitions and things like that, like the
Mhm.
thing at Helium every year, the funniest.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, do that. Yeah, do you do that one too, Paul?
I have it. It's stressful. It's nerve wracking,
Wow.
but I enjoy it. It's nice, and you get a tape, and you get to be at like a big club, so that's always fun.
Absolutely. Like the audience is great. It's a good like practical experience, and
Hmm.
like a lot
Absolutely.
of comedians I know they're like just do it, you know, you get a tape and it's like a good experience in front of like a crowd. So,
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
um, yeah. Um, let's see. What is another song that you like?
Um, I guess my favorite it's like I was just listening to this one recently, so this is what it reminded me of. It's by Outcast. It's I hope I say it right, Spody Odie Dopalicious, and it's just got like it's the longest song title ever, but I like it because it has this section of horns that just reminds me of summertime. It's like the most relaxed, like the song itself is just kind of like Andre 3000, like telling a story about a night in Atlanta, and then just like these horns come in and out. It's like, and it just keeps like coming in and out, and it's like it's a good song to like just cruise in your car at night in the summertime. I think I
Hmm.
really enjoy it, and I really like Outcast and primarily Andre 3000. I think he's so creative, and I love hearing his like approach to just art in general.
I think he's like one of the most talented songwriters slash performers I've ever heard. Uh, if you get an opportunity to go to an Outkast concert, go. Like
Oh yeah, I hope they reunite.
they put on a big show. Like
Hmm.
they really do. Like they have dancers and like things like that. So
Huh. That would be an awesome concert to go to, I think. I hope they
yeah,
reunite and do some like tour like that. That would be cool.
absolutely. So you said the song was Bodie Odie and
Dopalicious. It's a long title and it's all one word. Spodioti Dopalicious.
gotcha. Like I'm thinking like super califragilisticexpialidocious or something like
I
that.
wonder if it is inspired by that because it definitely has a similar feel. What was that? Was that Mary Poppins or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that had that?
That was Poppins.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was its own long word.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'll have to check out that song and like listening to more Outcast is like a thing I always have to do because like I'll hear this song and I'll be like, it's really good, and I'll be like, of course it's Outcast,
Mhm.
like just pretty much all Outcast music is really good. So
I like how experimental it was for like its time too. Like they really created their own lane. Like them and CeeLo Green and all those people from like Goody Mob and all the people from like Atlanta. They tell stories about like this place called the Cave, which was just like an apartment basement that they had where they would just go all of them and just like record and keep pushing each other to be creative and try new things. And it sounds like such a cool environment that I think like there's parallels to replicating it in comedy, like just writing together. Like you mentioned, I think at the beginning of this that you sometimes have a sketch on here. Do you ever do like sketch comedy or anything like that?
I've done improv I've written I've written sketches before and things like that, but just kind of for like when good comedy was a thing. I did some sketch comedy stuff for them. So
Mm-hmm.
if things kind of come up, I might do stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
All right, so we're pretty much out of time, but thank you so much, Paul, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
So